Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. We're all good to go. So, fancy carrying on with these small projects, small paintings projects. So the idea is something that you can produce within a session, comfortably within a session. So you could do that by working small, so that was a little painting I did yesterday. Or you could just, you could vary the, maybe not take too much on, that'd be another way you could do something in a session. This week I thought I'd focus on tonal values, so this is sort of the inspiration of sort of daily painting I did. And that's an example of a painting just using lights and darks. So in this case, they use shades of grey. If you wanted to use a colour, but then maybe do light and dark of it, that would be fine. So I'm just actually going to use greys, but the grey I've got here, I've got one that's called a warm grey, so it's probably got a bit of something brown or something mixed in with it. So I'll use that. In terms of the mediums, use any medium you like. That was my demo from last week, and that was obviously the little robot. Using pastels, just light and darker pastels. That's from the picture, an old demo years ago. So that's obviously charcoal. So you can use charcoal. These two are sort of paintings I did. This one I actually did when I did a magazine article. So this was an example of a tonal painting, a black and white painting. These are all white objects against a white background with quite strong lighting. So I managed to set it up in my studio with bright, directional lighting. So that was an example of that. The other one is a demo similar to the one that I did in class, so the lighting's not quite such a strong lighting. Okay. So really anything you want. I'm going to use my little teddy bear setup. So I've basically just sketched it out using acrylics because it's nice and not straightforward here. I thought I'd try and use some of the mediums myself this month that I don't use a great deal of, so for my own work. So normally use oils the other thing you can use is pens. That's an example of a pen one. So I did that on Saturday, just before I was doing a workshop over in Kent, just as a quick sketch. So just light and dark pens on tone paper. And the idea would be maybe some highlights. I've got some maybe lighter colour, lighter grey or white for the sky or something like that. That's as far as I got with that one. So yeah, any medium you fancy that's tonal. So with this, I've just sketched it out very lightly in a pale grey pastel pencil, and then I'll go in with some slightly darker grey. So I've got a few greys pre-mixed here. So things like the shadows on this side. There's some even deeper shadows just under there. You get some really dark shadows in place. I tend to like to work, if I can, either dark to light or mid-tone to light, and then sometimes put some darks in. So his eyes are going to be quite dark, perhaps there and there. Maybe I'll put that in after shadow in the fingers. So I'm basically just looking at any areas that are slightly darker. It's not quite so dark there, so I'll just go a little bit lighter. The other thing that, if you're using acrylics, that is a bit of a challenge with acrylics is that as it dries, you've got a slight tonal shift in that it gets a bit darker. So I tried to get this. Well, there was a bit of a messy patch here, so I tried to even out with the blue. But I did find that as it was drying, it would dry a tiny bit darker. So you may discover that you'll find that, once your work's dried, it looks a little bit duller. Something like found a bit with the acrylics. So that's probably most of it really dark tones. And what I've done here, which I don't normally do, is actually pre-mix a few different tones. You could start with dark and have different, go progressively lighter. That might be quite an interesting way to do it. Again, it's something I've seen other painters do and not really done myself. I thought it might be quite an interesting technique to try. So just, I've got everything roughed in, so I'm now going in with any areas of dark first, and then progressively get lighter. At this stage, I'm not too worried about textures, but I'm keeping my brushwork fairly sort of painterly, fairly loose brushwork. So this bit here is a bit lighter, and actually that side is darker here. And where I want to try and suggest the fur, I'm just going to keep it like a roughish edge. That side is a lot darker than this side, so this would be like the mid-tone next, sort of going slightly lighter in here. This is where I'd love to blend, but already the paint is starting to dry. So. And with the acrylics, I'm not too worried if I make any mistakes, because I can go back over and rework. So I'll just do a little bit more around here, and then this would be the kind of the third tone. So already you can see quite a range of tones in there. I won't complete that one. Maybe I'll go even lighter. So this one is a little bit lighter. So this is where maybe at the end I might just try and suggest some of the textures. It's not bright line, but start to perhaps a smaller brush. Let's try something a bit smaller, just to draw in some of that kind of slightly rougher texture. What do you think? Is that enough? And then obviously I'm going to go back in and if I want to put some more darks in, re-establish a few sharper bits, sort of thing. Like, have that bit darker. There's a slightly stronger shadow under here. So let's go with a smaller brush there. It's a tiny bit darker in there. So trying to work fairly all over and just gradually pull the whole thing together. And you've got something in there. Stunning.
Is that a 15-minute one? Rather than 5 or 10?
7 minutes that was. So it's going to take me half an hour break. I'll probably try and finish this one today. To do a bit later.
Do you take that Teddy's beverage at the night time?
It's on my desk. It's on my desk. Yeah. No, there's not enough room. My wife's got no Teddy there. Okay.
Yeah, it's Ebony.